What harm would it do if you testified?
Because I don't have the full facts of the case yet, sir.
Secretary Noem accused Mr. Pretti of brandishing a firearm while wishing to inflict harm on the officers. When she did, without an investigation, I'll tell you why. The secretary was in a rush to cover up. The secretary should be investigated. Lock her up. I say lock her up. I believe this is a most valuable hearing, and I'm honored that the ranking member would be here with us to accommodate us, as is the case with you. Mr. Lyons, is it true that you have a criminal justice degree, a bachelor's degree in criminal justice?
Yes, sir, it is.
Is it also true that you have a master's degree in criminal justice leadership?
Yes, I do.
And would you, as a professional with 2 degrees in criminal justice, indicate to us that if an officer commits murder, that officer should be prosecuted?
Sir, any law enforcement misconduct needs to be investigated and prosecuted.
Investigated and prosecuted. And have you seen the widely published video of the killing of Mr. Alex Pretti?
Yes, sir.
And sir, my assumption is that if I ask you whether this was an injustice, you would say you cannot comment because of an ongoing investigation. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, sir.
And what is the rationale for not responding to an ongoing investigation?
Sir, I don't want to impede or prejudice the investigation.
No, not this one. Oh. Any, as in your profession now, but any investigation. What's the rationale? Not this one, any.
Same for any investigation, sir. I don't want to.
You would not want to.
I don't want to bias or put my finger on the scale of any investigation.
You not. What's the rationale for your not testifying about it? Is my question.
I don't understand your question, sir.
What does the law say? What is the rationale? What harm would it do if you testified?
Because I don't have the full facts of the case yet, sir.
Exactly, that's what I expected you to say. You don't have the full facts. Thank you. And I assume you would agree with this, Mr. Scott, is this true?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Edlow, you would agree?
I assume so. I'm not a professional in law enforcement.
Well, but you're a professional person with a degree of intellect such that you can comment on whether or not.
Well, I certainly would not comment on anything.
Not a specific case. We're talking about now any case. Would you agree that it would cause harm for you to testify before there's an investigation?
Certainly without having all the facts.
All right, surely you would agree. Which brings us to Secretary Noem. Secretary Noem accused Mr. Pretti of brandishing a firearm while wishing to inflict harm on the officers. Secretary Noem. Same rules that apply to you apply to Secretary Noem. Accused this gentleman, Mr. Pretti, of brandishing a firearm. Secretary Noem doing this, when she did, without an investigation, we have to agree that there's not been an investigation. I don't think I have to ask you that. Not a complete investigation that we know of, anyway. She did it right afterwards. Having done this, she is violating this very basic principle that you have called to our attention today. And we have to ask ourselves, why would she go so far as to say brandishing when he did not? The video will clearly show it. And she said wishing to inflict harm. Did not inflict any harm. But the secretary, without an investigation, made these comments. I'll tell you why. The secretary was in a rush to cover up, to make sure that she was protecting the officers without regard for the life that was lost. And in doing this, she was violating not only this basic moral concept, she was breaking the law. The secretary should be investigated right along with those officers who are out there engaged in this ungodly conduct. She should be investigated. And in my opinion, based upon my observation, secretary should not only be investigated, the secretary should be prosecuted right along with those officers. This man did not brandish. This man was not armed. This man did not attempt to hurt those officers. They should all be prosecuted. And you persons associated with the Trump
Gentleman's
administration
time
say lock her up. I say lock her up.
What we've heard today and seen play out in the streets of this nation for the past year, straight out of the Trump administration's fascist playbook. Cheat, murder, lie about it, practice the art of mass distraction. The American people are not happy about this. This administration's officials are sitting before us. 2 people are dead. I understand that there's an investigation and you cannot go into the details about that. But there certainly appears to be no shame on the part of these officials who've undoubtedly watched some of your officers conduct themselves in ways that I know you don't condone. Not as law-abiding people, right? So I got to give you the benefit of the doubt. And I can't understand why you show no shame, no contrition, no remorse for the human lives that have been lost, or for the trampling of the Constitution and the tearing apart of the moral fiber of our nation. They think, apparently, you think, apparently, you've been coached, apparently, you've been called out of the room with a forced break to be told to be more aggressive, to push back against questions. The American people saw that happen. The American people watched as you all looked at each other. Oh, I didn't ask for a break. And clearly you were called in the back to be coached. A halftime locker room pep talk. This isn't a game. These are people's lives. We should all be, you should be, your officers should be held accountable that no one is above the law. No one can evade the Constitution. No person can evade what is right, even though you think that Donald Trump will protect you, and maybe he will for now. But there will be a time that you have to answer these questions. And while you have worked on many administrations, and it's been asked, you worked on different administrations, what's different? I'll tell you what's different. The approach of how you conduct it, your search and seizure. The reason there were so many others and there were not riots was because people were not being trampled. You had trained officers who knew the art of de-escalation. They understood the rule of law. They understood the Constitution. Yet now we continue to hear lies. Last year, I took members of Congress on an oversight visit to ICE facility. We were told certain things that turned out to be patent lies. They told us things that we witnessed within moments of being there to not be true, yet we continue to hear you and some of my colleagues suggest, don't believe your eyes, don't believe your ears, just trust us. Well, the American people can see. And this notion that Democrats don't want enforcement, those are talking points that are wrong. We want rapists and murderers off the street. We want the bad, the worst of the worst, to be arrested and to be deported if they aren't supposed to be here. What we don't want is citizens running down the street being chased by ICE agents.